The smartest guys around are about to break it down like they've won the game a million times.
Well, actually, they didn't really win the game at all.
Survivor know it knows. Survivor know it knows. Steven and Rob without a doubt got the game all figured out. They know it all.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, who asked for some more double trouble? That's right. The Survivor Know-It-Alls are back after a jam-packed episode 8. Buy one, get one, as 2 Survivor players went out in a huge twist to the game. Here with us, you asked for dynamic advantages, and there's no one more dynamic than Stephen Fishback. 63% of you voted for him.
Well, I'm honored to be part of a duo that can never be eliminated off your podcast feed.
That's right.
Very fun episode. I loved it. I love this season. I'm so hyped to talk about it with you, Rob. So many strategic permutations. Such a sad loss.
Yes, sad loss. Of course, we lost Coach 4.0. I believe this could be it for Coach. We'll put it all into context for you here tonight. Talk about the ramifications, what's going to happen next, and everything from a big night of Survivor. Double exit interview coming your way as well. I will talk with both Chrissy and Coach, hopefully separately. Hopefully they won't make them do the exit interview together.
Yeah,
they used to do that back in the day.
Yeah. Well, I remember. I feel like there was one that Dan Lembo, rest his soul.
Sure. They used to double them up in the finale, and I talked to Purple Kelly and Nyanka on the same call, and then it's luckily I don't think they were in the same room, and it's like okay, Purple Kelly, put Nyanka back on the phone, but we will hopefully have separate exit interviews coming your way, and then a jam-packed Thursday, look for my podcast with Baby Andy. Then I'm also going to catch up with John and Aaliyah. And we're going to do a mid-season mailbag this week. So a jam-packed week here on the podcast. Steven, how you doing tonight?
I'm great. I mean, what a season, truly. Like, whatever you think of like the format twists and turns, such fun players. They're just bringing it so hard. It's just a joy to watch.
So effing hard. And so, let's jump right into it. And let's just talk about, it was brought up at Tribal Council that Aubrey conjured the war dog about this.
You never want to conjure the war dog. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's a major contribution that War Dog brought to the Survivor lore, where he did say at that final Tribal Council in the Edge of Extinction, I also talk about it in the Tribe and I Have Spoken, that the theme is not on trial. You 3 are, was the quote that War Dog said back then. But let's put the theme on trial here for a minute. You come in, you seem pretty bullish about it. I'm sure there's a lot of people up in arms about yet another Survivor twist. How are you feeling about this 2-for-1 shot tonight?
I liked it. I thought it was very fun. I've also, as I've said before, I have given up on the idea that Survivor is a game of 16 people played across 39 days with maybe one advantage, and they just create their perfect little social strategy, which was a game I
think
loved.
your season was the last time that happened.
It was great. Now it's gone.
That was it.
I loved it. It was wonderful. That was what I signed up for. I would never sign up for Contemporary Survivor. I would never agree to this. However, as a viewer, I found it very fun. I liked it. I think if they did it again, and obviously if they did it again, this would happen, the players should know what they're pairing up for. I, in general, like twists where the players can make strategic decisions based on a knowledge of the consequences. But even so, I thought it was a fun little wrinkle.
Yeah. I thought that the strategic machinations of having to unwrangle this, I thought were really, really interesting and compelling. And so I thought that there was a lot to like here. I'm not going to complain about the twist. I'll echo what you're saying in terms of that should they have known ahead of time that they were going into pairs. But I think that's reality TV, baby, where you sign up for things and then they love to pull the rug out from under you. I don't know necessarily what we would have seen be different. Perhaps Jonathan and Christian don't end up together. But I do feel like that for the most part, we saw people, maybe Joe and Tiffany don't end up on one team together where they thought it was just strictly an athletic competition. And that could be ultimately a game-changing duo as we move forward. But I think that we would have had rather similar groupings.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think in general, actually, like, I think a Jonathan and Christian pairing makes a lot of sense. Like, what you want in a twist like this is to be with someone from the other group. Like, that's your ideal, not just someone who complements your strengths, which obviously is what Jonathan was thinking. Like, I'm super strong, let me get someone super smart. But you want that mix of people. I mean, when I looked at these pairs, I immediately thought the two pairs that are the most likely targets are Rick and Aubrey, and Coach and Chrissy, because they were the two pairs that kind of were just from one grouping and therefore would have like less support, you know? So I actually think like we might have seen a lot of similar pairs. We probably wouldn't have seen those two pairs actually. Like it would probably, like, honestly, like if those
Chrissy
two
would not have tied herself to Coach if that was the case, if she knew.
No.
So I think she was probably the biggest loser from having to be paired with somebody, because we saw Coach did have a lot of heat on him and she was keenly aware of that all through this episode. I don't know necessarily if you would have seen a pair like a Christian and Jonathan come together, because I think that you would have, if Christian said, hey, or Jonathan said, I want to work with Christian, I think Coach loses his mind of like, hey, what are you doing?
Like, why
we're trying to vote Christian out.
Can I just take a moment and sidebar? They're like always against the people playing the middle. We got to get out the people playing the middle. Like, let's get rid of those middle people, those devious middle people.
Yeah.
Who's the other side? If it's like, if the alliance is, you know.
By the way, Stephen,
Joe,
I have to interrupt
Coach,
you. This podcast is sponsored by Quince. Quince cuts out the middleman between you and high quality fashion.
Chrissy wants to cut out the middleman. Yeah, yes, just like
they're
Quince.
going to cut out the annoying middleman. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
But that just seemed to be a theme of even Tiffany was like, we got to get rid of those people in the middle.
We hate the middlemen.
Who is, if they're the middle, who's the other side? Like, what are they the middle between? There's like this big alliance of that's, you know, from Chrissy and Coach's perspective and Joe's perspective, the alliance is like Jonathan, Joe, Coach, Chrissy, Ozzy, Cirie. And then on the other side, or in the middle, it's Rick, Aubrey, Emily, Christian. Is the other side just Tiffany? Is it just Tiffany who's the other side of this middle?
It's just Tiffany. Yeah. This is a great point. I think there's something in our society that the middle has a bad rap. You say like, hey, I'm in the middle, and everybody's like, hey, pick a side. You're privileged. What do you mean you're in the middle? They cut out the middleman. I say, hey, like, we should have a talk. And I'll say, I'll have my people reach out to you. We don't want to talk to your people. We want to talk to you. Everybody hates the middle people.
Yeah. My middle people are much better than me.
We need the middle people.
Yeah.
Honestly, we're losing our society because we hate the middle.
Yeah. But truly, what are they in the middle of? I guess they're just like not with, like, what's anyway, but like getting back to the meat.
Well, we, just to set the stage a little bit, I think what we got was in the beginning of this episode, which I think that this was unclear prior to tonight's episode, that we had, and I did a whole video like breaking down the two sides, and I think I saw the sides cleanly as they were tonight, but going into the last episode, you had the Honor and Loyalty 5, which was talked about in the episode, which was Coach, Chrissy, Jonathan, Stephanie, and Joe. That was a 5, but they seem to believe that they also had the Rizo, Cirie, Ozzy 3 was also with them.
Well, not even necessarily Rizo, though. Although Rizo is one of the four horsemen.
Rizzo was brought into the four horsemen.
But it seems like they're more Cirie and Ozzy, not realizing that there's a Cirie,
they didn't realize
Ozzy,
that Rizo is actually like, they thought they had Rizo on the side, and they thought they had Cirie and Ozzy. So I think that they thought that they had 8, and there was only 5 people outside of that alliance, and that was Tiffany, and then Emily, Aubrey, Christian, and Rick. So those were
just mean nerds. They just say what you mean. They don't want the nerds around. Nerds.
Yeah, they want to put them in a locker, go back, go get out of because they can't. That's why they can't say nerds anymore. So they have to call them the middle.
The middle. I think you're right.
Really
I think
mean
it's like
a
euphemism.
Yeah. They can't say nerd anymore on TV. But so they call them the middle. And so that's where we come into where this episode was set up. And then so we have this twist, which then allows there to be 2 people who get taken out. Stephen, if it was not for this twist, the double the fun twist, does it have a name, by the way?
Oh, no, I don't know.
Double your
What's
pleasure,
the episode
double your
name?
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Yeah. Old school callback right there.
Yep. And so if this did not happen, would either Coach or Chrissy have gone home on this vote?
I think there's a high chance that Coach goes home, right? Coach was a target, it seemed like, after last week. Although, again, like, was it there? It did also seem like Aubrey was in a lot of danger. It seemed like Rick was in a lot of danger. And I mean, I'm excited to talk about it, but I think that idol play may have been.
Okay, let's get there. I suspect that neither Coach nor Chrissy would have gone home. I think that, the two people winning the immunity also, I think, changed the calculus a little bit, where I think there were going to be votes going for Tiffany on this one. I do wonder, and really we'll talk about Cirie and what her decision is and ultimately how she shapes this vote. I do wonder if she would have wanted to make this move this early. It's still only the final 13, but as Cirie talked about it, it was a 2-for-1 here from the other side. I suspect that Cirie would not have wanted to upset the side. Like, they were in a nice spot in the real middle. And I wonder if she would have been as likely to do it as then, hey, take out Coach, take out Chrissy, and now I piss off 4 people on that side, as opposed to that now I'm going to take out 2 from that side. And then really, as Christian referred to it, talking about blowing up the Death Star, not helping the reputation of, people calling that side the nerds to describe it that way, but I digress. And then ultimately now you only have 3 people who are mad, and Joe's kind of already been brought over and sort of like greased the, I don't know what you would grease there, but basically you brought Joe in already. So I think that there's less collateral damage. So I do think that this twist ultimately helped upset what might have been a little bit more of a steamroll for that side.
It does seem like Cirie is the ultimate decision maker with everything.
Yes.
Like, what a scene where like all these plots are happening, and then Cirie walks in, like literally everybody goes over to her, and she just says like, "Okay, here's what we're gonna do," and like they're all like, "Gotcha, that's what we're gonna." Oh, how stupid of me to have thought otherwise, Queen Cirie. Like, can we just talk? Like, this is, I mean, it's really mind blowing. Just both how good she is and how much esteem and respect everybody gives her. Like, this is the person who is the most devious person on this beach, and like gets everybody just like is constantly deferring to her.
They're all going to her, and it's not like in the past where we've seen like a Boston Rob or even a Coach in South Pacific, where you see one person who really is ruling the roost with an iron fist of like, if you cross me, you're dead. I feel like that maybe not since Kim Spradlin have we seen somebody just sort of like dominate just from, I want to be in her warmth. I want to just be around her, and I want her to be happy with what I'm doing. And so let's just run everything back to her and let her make the decision.
Yeah, that's a great comparison and a great kind of, I think, like the emotional heart of it, which is just like, I want, and like the fact that she is so renowned to be a strategist, and every single one of these people thinks that they have the special relationship with her, right? Like, maybe we think that Ozzy and Rizo really have that, but right, I mean, Christian and Emily and she, and Rick thought that they were in a foursome with her. They probably still think that persists. Aubrey knows her from Game Changers. And so like everybody's got this special relationship with Cirie. And maybe Coach feels something from Heroes versus Villains.
Yeah, and you sort of wonder, maybe is Stephanie who feels like, okay,
right, of course, Stephanie, yes.
I know Cirie from Heroes versus Villains. Is she going to come running back to Cirie now that Coach and Chrissy are out of it? So she got so much even stronger after tonight. I don't think that anybody looks at Cirie as being the person. I think they all are mad at Rick Devens and Christian ultimately. And so Cirie is looking like she's in a really great position. Let's get into this tribal council, which unfolded. And we saw where Rick and Aubrey were in trouble. Let's talk about this first. I want to ask you, would Rick and Aubrey have gone home had it not been for Rick pulling out the fake idol?
I don't know. I don't My gut is no, because but also I don't know, because if you look at the actual votes, Joe is really obviously Chrissy and Coach would vote that way, although ultimately Chrissy voted a different way. But that was many steps down that road. Joe is probably going to vote for that. Obviously Jonathan does still vote for them. And then I after Cirie comes back, I kind of think that they're safe. But Rick said he felt like the tide was turning away from them, and I really believe that so much of who gets voted out at tribal council is just the person that the wheel stops on, and so like an hour ago when Cirie came, they were safe, but now suddenly the wheel's spinning again, and it could land on them, and they could be the ones in danger.
I think that they were safe. I think that Rick might have been feeling a little nervous. And I think, you get it. Like if you're Rick Devens and you have access to a hidden immunity idol, you're like, okay, this is feeling like it. I gotta take it out and play it here. There's only 5 votes in the honor and loyalty 5. I don't know who else was voting with them against Rick and Aubrey. As long as Cirie was still on board with, hey, we're voting for Coach and Chrissy, Ozzy and Rizgod were going to be voting with Cirie. Nobody, obviously, Rick and Aubrey weren't voting for themselves. Christian and Emily weren't going to let them go. That's already 7. You think that Tiffany also, while she had said originally she wanted more to vote with the middle, I don't think she's going to go against the people that want to work with her. So I feel like that there's still 8 votes that didn't change at that tribal council. I think the thing that changed perhaps by the fake idol being brought out was that Joe ultimately did vote with them, and so did Stephanie. I think only Jonathan was the only person who actually still voted for Rick and Aubrey.
Yeah, Jonathan voted for Rick and Aubrey. Chrissy voted for Rizo and Emily. And P.S., that's correct, by the way. Like, it was right for Chrissy to cast another vote there for that other group, because if Rick and Aubrey did play their idol, and there was an idol, and if Coach's shot in the dark hit, that would be no votes, and so Chrissy's vote would have been the one that
Chrissy was in one of those situations in the final 5 of HHH where Devin Pinto played. He put 1 vote on Dr. Mike after Ben. They put all the votes onto Ben, who and then ultimately Devin Pinto put 1 vote on Dr. Mike, and then ultimately Dr. Mike went home because of that.
Yeah, wow, I don't remember that at all, but.
I guess it happened. It happened, and Chrissy was there, and so I was going to say that I think that it was more of that Chrissy and Coach talked things through, and then ultimately it was more of a shot in the dark insurance. Let's just talk a little bit about Chrissy, who I'll echo that Chrissy also kind of like Angelina did not get a big story here. Camilla also as well. Probably 3 of the more underrated players where Tiffany has really kind of come into her own, and she has had an arc in this season. Chrissy's arc was that she came back to Survivor. She was not loved in her original starting tribe by some of the people that she played with. And then that Coach took her aside and said that she was getting on people's nerves. I did like the juxtaposition of that in this episode. It was Chrissy who had to pull Coach aside. Hey, Coach, you know what? You're being a little bit too much for people. We're going to need you to really just tone it down. She became the dragon sitter in this episode, really, where she had to put him in the hammock. Coach, you're in timeout in this episode. And so she knew, she intuited that she was going. And we talked about if you were going to blow up that side, who is the right person to hit over there? And I had said I thought that Chrissy was actually a really smart person for that, for the other people to take out, because I do think that she was the most strategic-minded person on that side in that honor and integrity 5.
Well, I think Jonathan's playing a great game, PS. Like, as I've said, as the internet contests, but I will stand by it. But yes, I mean, Chrissy is definitely the biggest loser of tonight, not just getting voted out, seemingly getting voted out largely because of being connected to Coach. And then, worst of all, potential. I mean, getting voted out sucks. Worst of all, sort of getting voted out is like a yada yada yada. Like, okay, Chrissy's gone, and then like Coach gets this like the heroic music, and like the like everyone's like, "We salute you, Coach." You know, like I am Coach.
It was a little bit of insult to injury, where a lot of Chrissy's storyline was overshadowed by Coach. I think she was with Coach the entire game. And then I didn't really understand the logic of like, okay, Chrissy and Coach, you're both voted out. All right, Chrissy, you're going to be voted out first. Like, why?
I mean, it was the same thing as Colby. We all know. You know what the logic is. It's the same reason.
I feel like we could like, like, because why? Like, just don't worry. Don't
alphabetical by last name. Or alphabetical by first name.
Who's played more times? Who's played more days? We give deference to that seniority. You know, like first one in, last one out, like or first one out. Anyway, so Chrissy goes out, and Coach, gets even overshadowed in her boot episode here by, of course, that the headline is going to be that Coach gets out. And I do want to talk about Coach and what this means for his legacy and his like what his story ends up being here in the season. But I just want to give some deference to Chrissy, who I think was playing one of the more strategic games out there. I don't know if she was going to be set up to win, but she really seemed to be having a really good view of the board.
Yeah. I mean, if her group kind of pans out and then, she's there at the end with Coach and I don't know who, I mean, Jonathan, like maybe, I mean, I guess it's so hard to speculate about something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But Jonathan had a lot of bad blood. You got D there as the mayor of the jury. Coach people are pissed at. Maybe Chrissy wins, by default.
Yeah. Okay. Let's bring Coach back into this, because I had wondered coming out of the last episode, was there some method to his madness? And I think that has always been the question that has followed Coach around through his Survivor career. Is this intentional? Has he lost it? Does he know what he's doing? What is the level of self-awareness for Coach? And you saw in the beginning of the episode that he was referring to himself as a shield for his group. And I did think that was making me think that he is maybe keenly aware of what he's doing with the haikus, and there was some intentionality to it. It wasn't that Coach had necessarily lost it. It was that he felt like, hey, let me try to take all the bullets from my side.
Yeah, I mean, I almost felt like that was like an ex post facto justification, where ex post facto justification, where he was like saying, oh, I made a huge mess of things, but that makes me a huge shield. I do want to say, though, I think Coach was having more fun than we've ever seen him have on the show. I think he was having fun with like the persona of Coach, where in the past, sometimes it's felt like really like I am Coach, and he was like, he was like taking so much joy in the haikus and like, oh yes, what a great haiku line. We really saw him kind of marinating in this sort of pleasure of like this persona. So I really had a lot of fun with Coach this season. I'm bummed that he's off my screen. I was hoping he'd be there all the way to the end, because he was just such like I don't know, he always added like just a lot of like coachness, in the way that I feel like you could add Keith Nail to, and I mean, again, let's rest his soul, but like you could have added Keith Nail to any season and he would just be additive and fun and bring some like, his Keithness to the season. Like I feel like you could too with Coach, just like have him there. He's, just like being Coach.
The edit was generous to Coach tonight in his final hour in Survivor 50. We saw haikus. We saw Coach Chi. We saw him singing. We saw he gave speeches, multiple speeches. He gave multiple famous quotes in the episode. But I will say that strategically and in the gameplay, he was largely relegated to the sidelines in this episode. That do you feel like that this is an unsatisfying end for Coach?
Well, I wonder if like, I mean, it's certainly the question, right? You're seeing him like just like literally be in the hammock all day and therefore not on the beach, kind of like steering votes. And you wonder if he had been there marshaling votes. I mean, it was basically the thing that we said last week, right? Like if there's a loud voice in the room, like, as frustrating as it is societally, like that voice can get heard. And we certainly saw it last week with Coach in terms of how he steered the votes. Like he steered the votes just like through force of personality. And even Ozzy at the start of this episode was like, I don't know why I voted for Coach the way Coach wanted me to. He just told me what to do, And I mean, there's something to that. If someone is in every group conversation saying, here's what we do, here's what we do, here's what we do, like you on Survivor, you can't text, you just like, you're kind of like stuck doing the thing the person is telling you to do. And for him to just be in the hammock really opened up this door for him to be voted out.
Yeah. This was the equivalent of, okay, take his phone away, and now he can't do any harm if he's in there. But, hindsight is 2020, and this is a completely results-oriented take. But I think you kind of have to, if you're in an alliance with Coach, I think you have to kind of let Coach be Coach.
And I get it from Chrissy's perspective. Like, obviously, there was a lot of frustration with him last week. It seemed like it almost boiled over. Like, this week, just like, let's be cool, let's be invisible. But they weren't invisible. That's the thing. Like, you can be invisible if you're invisible, but Coach was already a target, and Coach is already Coach. And I think the fact that this is one of the two pairings that are both like from the same alliance made them inherently a target. So when you're in that position where you're already kind of a potential target, you just can't sit back. Like, there's times to sit back and there's times to not sit back. And again, it is results oriented thinking, but I do think this is maybe one of those times not to sit back. And I'm sure Coach regrets that.
And just looking back at this pairing of Coach and Chrissy, just as an alliance, I feel like that this was maybe doomed to failure from the start, because I think that just in terms of who these two people are, in terms of how they approach the game and Survivor as a whole, you have Chrissy, who is like the ultimate pragmatist, is purely logical, is like thinking about the numbers, always thinking ahead in terms of the game. And Coach is vibing, and Coach has a strategic side to him, but he wants to do the things that are sort of the unconventional and be big. And Chrissy wants to sort of be not in the middle of everything. And so this was always going to be like not a duo that's going to fit together hand in glove like a Steven and JT. On the one hand, you could say maybe they complement each other's strengths, but I just think that their play style was so just like opposite in maybe a way that didn't quite work.
Yeah, that's really a good point. I mean, you look at Rick and Aubrey conversely, and they obviously, can seem to play very nicely together, and probably presented a unified front. I mean, we saw them presenting a unified front, like quite literally, when they were talking with people.
Yeah. So let's talk about going back to this live tribal council, because I think that there's more to unpack here. We knew Rick Devens when Jeff started talking to him. We saw that we got the edit. We also, similarly, in Survivor 48, we got this edit when I think that Joe was talking when this was happening, and then we got, as Joe was droning on, we saw it like from Rick's perspective. We got this in Survivor 48 when it was actually from Joe's perspective. I think he was considering like whether or not to flip against, maybe was it Shaheen, and we then see Rick is going to go and get up and do it, and so it ends up being quite a big moment. Rick seems to know exactly where it is. There's a myriad of responses from people where a few doubters, a few haters. Riz God comes over, congratulates Rick Devens on finding idol number 6. Is that right?
Well, but I wonder if they're counting. I don't know the actual numbers, but they also might be counting the one that they think Rick found that passed to Aubrey. So they might be thinking of that as
okay. So some Kalish math from the Riz God.
I honestly don't know what the actual number is, but I wonder if that.
Yeah. Did he find 4 idols in the edge of extinction?
It was something crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. We have to find out, is he counting fake idols? I'm not sure exactly. But he's impressed with Rick Devens. And it seems like that at first, everybody is like on board. Oh my God, he has an idol. What do we do? But there seems to be some questions about let's show us the idol. Show us what you have. And Rick declines. Okay. Do you think that it was beginning to fall apart for Rick?
No, I felt like Rick, I actually thought Rick had it like perfectly in hand. He was like, I'm not, his responses felt to me like he knew whether or not he planned them. He was like, oh, you don't get to see any more than this. He was like a little bit of a tease. He felt like, it didn't seem like he was on the back foot. He felt very much in control of that moment. I mean, one fear with something like that is that someone gets up and says, great, he's got an idol. Let's stack votes on him, make him play it. and either he does or Coach goes home. You know, like, and then suddenly they're really effed.
Yeah. Could you, in this situation, could Rick get up and say, "Hey Jeff, can you hold this for me?"
Yeah.
Could you open that? I don't want to play it until after the votes, but Jeff, can you hold this for me?
That would be fun. Like, can you just give Jeff anything, any old thing?
Because I think the thing that really where it starts to fall apart is when they say, "Show it to us," and he doesn't have a great answer to why he can't show it to them.
Right, but it also is very chaotic, you know, and I don't think it's not like they're in the middle of a it's not like they're in the middle of like a, you know, a legal, you know, brief. Like it's like a chaotic tribal council, and he's like waving it around, and they're all off whispering. So
Yeah,
I think
I
like
wonder,
and maybe, yeah,
if he's like, you know what, I'm going to give this to Jeff to hold because I don't know if somebody has knowledge is power, and I don't want them to use it against me.
Right.
Could you do that?
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Just like put it in Jeff's hand. I mean, I feel like that wouldn't be. I don't think it would like protect you from a knowledge is power. That doesn't seem like it.
Do I have an idol? No, Jeff does.
I don't know if we're giving Jeff like ownership, because then can Jeff play it on somebody else? That's like an atheist game of Clock Tower. I think Jeff does not get to.
How about this? Okay, how about this? Rick could say, "You know what? I'm not showing if it's real or if it's fake because I don't want somebody to, if they have knowledge is power, to steal it from me."
Yeah. Well, but then the premise of that is that maybe it's not an idol.
Well,
you know?
But I'm protecting myself because I have to maybe make you think it's a fake idol because I don't want somebody to knowledge is power me.
Right.
Now, they don't know that knowledge is power was also, only Rizgod would know that the knowledge is power was in Survivor 49. But I do wonder if you could potentially use the threat of knowledge is power to maybe maybe you want people thinking that your real idol is fake to protect you from somebody burning their knowledge is power on you.
I just think the circumstances, like what makes a tribal council play work is the fact that there's just chaos at tribal council, right? It's not the venue to like rigorously analyze like the evidence. You know, there's chaos, there's nerves. It's like a you know, constructed scene. You know, you can't just like go like, you can sort of like break off in this little like, you know, room, but you can't kind of like go pull someone off for like an in-depth conversation. And so I think like, you know, one thing that made Rick always such an incredible operator in, you know, Edge of Extinction was that he was just like he was so comfortable in that chaos. He was able to like create these explosive moments at tribal council.
He thrives in chaos.
Kind of. And then he would be able to like harness them. Mic keeps slipping.
Do you think any votes changed at this tribal council?
I mean, I do think that that Joe's vote changed. I think that
Stephanie?
Probably Stephanie's vote probably changed. I guess there's a world where like the vote was so buttoned up already, and these people were already voting where Cirie told them. So it's just like one of those things. I guess we just won't know until you do exits. But I don't know. What do you think?
I think that maybe a couple of rats jumped ship, not to call the people rats, but I think that maybe that Stephanie and Joe didn't necessarily want to go down with the ship. They kind of read the writing on the wall, and especially with Rick Devens having his idol, that he maybe got a few people off of it where Jonathan stayed the course on it. But the fact that Coach played his shot in the dark makes me think that the edit didn't want to give away that Rick and Aubrey were going to be safe no matter what, and they wanted to really sell the spectacle. Interesting. I have to give the producers and the editors credit because I could be mistaken, but I don't think I am. In the previously on for this week, I don't think that we saw.
They didn't. Good call.
They set it up like 2 or 3 times over the course of the season in the previously on Survivor that we saw Rick and Christian hide the idol at Tribal Council. But tonight, on the night that we needed to know about it, they didn't give us that information.
Yeah.
They sort of I wonder ahead with it.
It also hopefully protects Rick next week, right? Where like now he gets to say, I've got this idol that I'm going to play, right? So because he's like, from everybody else's perspective, he still has an idol that he held on to. I'm curious to see what Christian says. You know, we're presumably going to get a confessional from Christian at the start of this episode, like, and I hope it's like, oh, Rick nailed it, and not like, oh, Rick, you blew our thing.
I thought that Christian's face,
he did not look thrilled,
indicated. Now I don't. Christian, we know can act. So maybe he was acting like, oh, I don't like that this happened.
Yeah.
Like he did seem a little bit
Right. Wish we had
why
saved that
now?
for a
Why'd
bigger
you
moment.
do like maybe you went for it too soon. You didn't
But I
need
will
it
say
tonight.
some of the target on Rick was because of Christian, right? I mean, Christian earlier said, I want Rick to be the one to be perceived to have found Aubrey's idol because he has this reputation as an idol hound. And I don't want that stink on me. And that was part of why Rick was a target tonight.
I don't want to be a pat myself on the back person. I rarely do it on the podcast, but I will have to say that I did not like Aubrey playing her idol at Tribal Council last week.
Agreed.
Aubrey herself, I think, realized that was maybe something that was good for everybody else, but not for Aubrey in this spot. It would have really, especially that for people who thought that Rick Devens sent her the Billie Eilish Boomerang idol, it would have been a perfect
This would have been
that's
true. This would have been the sweet time to
to burn that idol, and so it really would have been an incredible use of that idol there for Aubrey. But she is able to, by way of at least the parchment from that Billie Eilish Boomerang idol that was found, perhaps is saved in a way.
No, I mean, it worked out very well for them. It was also just like great television. I thought Rick pulled it off so beautifully. It was so fun.
Cinema.
It was cinema, and it was great. And even like, you have, because it's slightly confusing, you have people who are not in on it basically validating it for you. Like Tiffany, like people who are like trying to catch up with the narrative you're selling are like explaining that narrative and therefore not questioning that narrative, if that makes sense. You have Tiffany saying, oh, he had a clue when he just found the idol that he had the clue for. And then by her saying it, it almost validates it for you, because then you have like other voices in the room saying, oh, this is what's happening, and I thought that was what Rick did so beautifully in terms of how he sold it, was he kind of like gave just enough that other people could kind of start to put the threads together, but not like, I have a clue that I found at this challenge that I'm therefore going, if he oversold it, it might feel like too much and therefore less credible.
And I will say that Aubrey playing the Billie Eilish Boomerang idol at the previous Tribal Council did help sell the plausibility that Rick Devens found something. It was a talking point from the start of the episode. Oh, Rick Devens, he's always finding things. And now Aubrey perhaps has an idol back in play. And so that did, in a way, help sell this at the Tribal Council.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Joe. And Joe had sort of been on the sidelines, really, since the big feud with Rick Devens in episode number 2. It does seem like there is no love lost between Joe and Rick Devens. And so we saw Joe really put into the spotlight as he ends up being partners with Tiffany, who is firmly on the bottom, but they end up being partners in this challenge. And then we see Joe go and have spaghetti and tiramisu with Tiffany, and he's locked in. And we know when Joe locks in with an ally, he's
locked in. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. Sorry about this. I mean, great, tiramisu will bring so many people together, and just and Joe especially. That it is a very fun alliance. What a great second life in the game for Tiffany, to kind of like have this one group that she sort of was with almost by proxy, and then to suddenly find this other outlet, which Tiffany is like,
Steven,
what?
Tiffany, but my winner pick, she looked like she was dead in the water here, but who's going for Tiffany?
Yeah, no. Can we also talk about, I mean, I don't want to like get off Joe right away.
But plenty more to talk about with Joe.
Coach's conversation with Tiffany was so good. And I was thinking, like, when Coach is like, I wasn't pushing your name out there. And then she says, okay, so who was pushing my name? He's like,
yeah. Yeah. That's, to me, when you don't have any answer, that's damning. Yeah. Like, I can't tell you. Like,
right. At least I said, like, I don't want to throw that person under the bus. But do you, when you're going into a conversation like that on one of these games, are you already, because like I feel like I would, you think to yourself when you're watching this, you should have had an answer prepared for that. But when I think of me when I actually played this, now granted I never won, I don't know if I had that, if I thought because like you're just kind of like putting out fires. You're like, I need to go have a conversation with Tiff. I need to like, connect with her. And hey, it wasn't me. And then she's like, okay, who was it? Like, I don't know if I would have planned that out in advance of that conversation. Like, who am I going to throw under the bus? Like, what is the story there? Like, do you like, you're on the traders. Like, are you planning these conversations out? Like, how many steps?
So I will say that the traders is a little different than Survivor in that in the traders, you might have like downtime when you are not in the game. In the traders, they take you away, you have time alone, and then you get dressed and then you come back and you're back in the game. I found in those times that I was not in the game, I'm scribbling notes down. I'm like, all right, here's like 12 things I'm going to do today. I have a whole to-do list. I'm going to say this to this person. I'm going to this to this person. I think in the moment, though, I think it's much harder to do. That being said, that Coach and Chrissy came up with this idea, go talk to Tiffany. Like, I kind of feel like, and maybe I'll say that Chrissy bears some culpability here also of like, okay, you're sending Coach off to go talk to Tiffany. What is he going to tell her?
Right. Because she's going to and literally Chrissy said, just make sure she doesn't think you were the one pushing her name.
Yeah.
Totally reasonable. I mean, like, again, like,
you know what? It was D. It was D.
Yeah.
D said,
someone out of, yeah, exactly.
And it was so weird.
She was scrambling. She was scrambling.
And Colby also, before he left, said, make sure, take out Tiffany for me.
Yeah.
Those were his parting words. He was like, you must have really pissed him off. I don't know what it was. Yeah. So I think you need to come back into that. But as for Joe is feeling like he's in the Honor and Loyalty 5, and that he must have been looped in by Coach about the 4 horsemen. Hey, a conversation that we did not see on the show, that Rizo is now in the 4 horsemen. Because we saw Joe and Rizo, who we've really never seen talking before, like having like a really deep conversation. And Joe is like saying to Rizo, like, hey, we can't turn on Coach. So Joe is, I think, really bought in that Rizo is in the 4 horsemen.
Yeah. By the way, I agree with Joe there. Like, I mean, I think I really have so much respect. We see so much of Rizzo's strategic game. We see him in like everybody's ear, having these very frank strategic conversations with all these people who, apart from them, they're twice his age. There's got to be some sort of, intimidate, but no, for him, no intimidation factor. And doing a great job. But Joe is correct. You do not turn on like your 2 best allies at this point
to go work with the side that has Rick Devens, who's your arch rival in the game. Yeah, I think that looking at what we know, I do think that maybe Joe went to the wrong side. It's great that he picked up Tiffany as a number. He didn't have to lose Tiffany. He could have still, again, and maybe, like, let's be fair to Joe, that Joe could be a pragmatist here himself, and knowing that, okay, I could vote for Rick and Aubrey. I don't have the votes. They're not going home. And so I'm going to go with the side that has the numbers, even though that's not what I want to do. Maybe that's growth for Joe of, hey, I'm going to swallow my pride a little bit here, and I'm going to write down a name that is less palatable to me for the sake of going along to get along.
But Rizzo's point too was that we can't let Joe in after the fact, right? Like then we're dead to him.
Great job by Rizzo. Also, a real understanding of Joe.
Yes, he said, look, we have to, we have to have, looped him in beforehand. And so even if he's not totally on board with it, at least he knows where we are. And I think that's really strong from Rizzo.
It was a thing that Christian could not fathom about Ozzy earlier in the season. He's like, okay, we'll tell Ozzy after the fact. He'll understand. And Rizzo at least has the presence to know that Joe is the same way. You can't tell Joe the next day, like, okay, we couldn't tell you because we thought you'd be mad. You have to. And Joe put up his fight about, hey, this is why we should not do this. I don't like this move that you're doing. But he still went along with it. And I think that for Joe, that's progress.
I totally agree. I mean, good for Joe, good for Rizzo. Everybody's a winner.
Good for Joe. But that being said, I think that Joe's best chance to win the game was to be that person who sits at the end with, say, Jonathan and Coach, and to be the person who is maybe the most liked in the final 3 among the people who kind of in some ways made more enemies along the way. Whereas it would be sort of like the inverted version of Survivor 48, where Joe was seen as the person who was pissing people off a little bit more along the way, and Kyle was able to be seen as the more likable, palatable choice in that group. I think that would have been a better switch for Joe to flip. I think he's going to have a harder time finding his way to the final three in this side. But I mean, what's he going to do? Vote the wrong way at tribal council?
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's no win here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right. Yeah, exactly.
So he gained an ally, which he really, I think that's an upgrade for him in terms of an alliance partner, Tiffany over Coach. But
who does Joe win against, like, left in this game? Like, truly, like, who does Joe win against in this game?
I think it's really going to come down to, I mean, if he could somehow, we don't really know what the jury is going to think about Stephanie.
Stephanie's the one person I was thinking of too. I mean, I think like Tiffany's probably going to be more beloved by the jury for sure.
The people didn't even want to write her name down at the last tribal council.
Yeah. I mean, flipping maybe, like, I don't know. Like, we just, maybe there's enough people like she blew up their games.
Yeah. It's hard to say. You don't know necessarily like what the jury is going to think about Rick and Christian also, that you would think that the jury would award sort of like the big gameplay. But sometimes when it comes at the expense of like dunking on the people with fake idols, you don't know necessarily how the jury is going. The jury likes it when you have real idols. They don't like it when you trick them with fake idols.
Yeah. Right. That's a really good point. Yes.
They did like Rick Devens. The jury seemed to like Rick Devens, but maybe not everybody on the jury.
Yeah. You mean the jury of 39?
The jury of a bunch of people that were on the edge of extinction the whole time and just liked watching Rick dunk on people.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Stephen, what happens next? Now we're down to, there are 11 people left after tonight. And so you have on the one side, you have what's left of Joe and Stephanie and Jonathan. It seemed that maybe Joe has found a lifeboat, but Stephanie and Jonathan seem like maybe just a duo left, and they seem like that they're in a not so great position. You have Cirie, Rizo, and Ozzy still there as a three, very much in the middle and in control of everything. You still have Tiffany, and then you have the four of Rick and Christian and Emily and Aubrey. Yes.
I mean, I think the pressure is going to be on those four now, simply because there is less threat from anybody else, right? Like, you kind of look at this Jonathan, Joe, Stephanie alliance, and it looks basically hamstrung. The new era thing is gone with D, Camilla, Tiffany. And so what's the biggest faction left? It really is that Christian, Emily, Aubrey. Rick thing, and Rick's just played this, done this flamboyant thing. I think too, they've just skated through the vote. I think there's going to be a lot of attention on them, because even though they are the middle, they're now a sizable faction. And I worry for them. The question though is, who does Cirie? Cirie seems to be the decision maker. So looking at this board, who is Cirie most okay losing? I mean, I think Cirie probably wants to keep, we know she wants to keep around Ozzy and Rizo. We know she wants to keep, I assume she wants to keep around Aubrey, right? We assume she wants to keep around Stephanie, who she has a relationship with. So where are, allegedly she's in an alliance with Rick and Christian and Emily. We don't know how much she values that alliance necessarily, although I do think that's part of why they stayed today. But then also does she care about Jonathan?
Yeah. So these dynamics in the post-merge are so fluid and so interesting. It's really like that we are sort of in a 3-tribe season after the merge, where you have the Rizo, Ozzy, Cirie tribe, and people don't quite see it that way, that Rizo is with Ozzy and Cirie. And then there's also the, Christian, Rick, Emily, and Aubrey tribe, and what's left of Joe, Stephanie, and Jonathan. I think that it was the old Sela tribe plus Aubrey. I wish there was a good name for them. I don't want to keep calling them nerds, but Cirie,
the middle.
All right, so the middle worked with Cirie, Rizo, and Ozzy to break up that honor and loyalty alliance. But now I kind of feel like that the Cirie, Rizo, Ozzy group is going to pick up what's left of the honor and loyalty alliance.
Yes.
And now have the numbers to take out the middle. I don't know if they'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, but I think that the middle is due to take a hit. And I think that Rick really put himself on the map in this episode. And I think that he could be a target. I think Emily could be the person of like, well, we know Emily doesn't have an idol. So I really think that somebody from that middle group is going to take a hit. And I don't think it'll be Aubrey, because I think that Aubrey has kind of some protection from Cirie.
And she's got, Aubrey has a relationship with Tiffany as well. So I agree. I mean, Cirie, so Rick has a maybe idol right now. And Cirie obviously had that more of a relationship with Rick simply because they were on the new Sela, they swapped together. I would be worried about Christian because Ozzy, and he had that rivalry. And like, does Flippin have some good relationship with Ozzy that she kind of built in that swap tribe with Vatu? Remember, like they were each other's number ones or something. So honestly, like to me, I think Christian is potentially in the most danger here. But this was sort of a low visibility episode for Christian, so maybe he's okay. Maybe it is Rick. But although Emily had a little bit of a visibility spike, so I don't know. I mean, I feel like just looking at the board, like Christian has fewer people standing up for him than anybody else. Although obviously we know that Joe and Rick have their rivalries, but like I think Rick is tighter with Cirie because Joe doesn't like Rick. Yeah, I mean Rick or Christian seem like the most obvious next targets.
It really does feel like that duo has gone too far in the game. They're looked at as a known pair. And you would have to think that in 11, where especially if you're like, oh, well, we got to flush Rick Devens' idol, it feels like that if that side only has 4, let's just do the math on the numbers. Can we do a vote split here? Not really, right? Because we have we have 7 of people who are not in that group, and then we have 4 in it, so you don't have enough to. You kind of needed one more person to do the vote split against them.
Yeah,
like I kind of would have behooved them if they just voted out Coach or Chrissy, and then they could have done the vote split against the middle.
Yeah,
so the middle has that going for them.
Right, they can't be split on. And Rick has a fake idol. So hopefully, but again, fake idol less useful than a real idol.
Less useful than a real idol, but that just because a fake idol was found tonight doesn't mean that the real idol can't be found. That the same things that applied to selling Rick Devens' fake idol, you wonder maybe could Rick Devens go to work and find the real idol in the next episode?
Gosh, that would be cool.
Yeah. Also, and we're at 11. I don't think that we will do this in the next episode. Is it possible that at 10 we do a split tribal council and do 5?
Yeah, that does seem likely. It seems like the pressure is going to get to Jeff. Like how many votes? How many just straight up votes can I do in a row?
Yeah.
2? Yeah.
I think we're still a little ahead of the pace. I think we need to do maybe at least 2 more episodes where 2 people go home. It's episode 8. And so I think we still have too many people. I have to run the numbers and think about how many people are typically left when we get through episode 8.
Yeah.
I think we're still a little ahead of the pace.
Yeah. Well, I do think it would be a bummer if I'd be very sad to see Rick or Christian go home.
Yeah, but what a run they've had so far.
Truly so fun.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Steven. Yes, go ahead.
No.
I was going to say, are you ready to hand out the most coveted award in Survivor podcasting? Are you ready to hand out the highly coveted Fishy Award?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just checking. Here we go. Okay. Last week was controversial. And that you landed on Jonathan. I feel like a less controversial Fishy is coming up.
Well, we got to talk about it. I do have 2 options for you. I like to talk through it with you. Our strategic brain trust here. But I'm glad I stood up for Jonathan. I backed down from David, and now I'm always standing up.
I'm even more convinced it should have been Riz God.
Oh, no. I've gotten enough text messages, people in secret on social media. They're all like, oh, how could you? Jonathan was wrong.
In secret, people text you, thanks you for giving Jonathan the Fishy. Nothing against Jonathan. I just think that Rizzo had a better episode overall.
And not even Jonathan. Jonathan hasn't even texted me. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Steven.
Yeah. Okay, 2 options here. And the first is the one that you're not going to like, but I'm going to say it anyway, which is Rick Devens, because I was told in episode 2 or whenever it was, I think that that was when they planted the idol at Tribal Council. And I was like, this is such a fun move. I love it. I want to potentially give them the Fishy. And you said premature. We can give them the Fishy.
Yeah.
When it plays out at Tribal Council. Well, tonight that's what happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Spectacular play out at Tribal Council. We do think it shifted some votes. So there's a case to be made that Rick Devens,
for sure.
It's a multi-episode Fishy Award.
Yes.
Of course, we all know that's not going to Rick tonight, I'm sorry to say. And I assume you agree that it's going to Emily. No, to Cirie. To Cirie. I mean, what another masterclass from Cirie.
Yeah.
There's chaos on the beach, all kinds of names being thrown out. Then like Cirie descends like Gandalf riding in at what is it? The attendant of two towers. I don't remember what the city is, Minas Tirith or something. Yeah. All the forces of evil scatter, and she just like tells everybody exactly what to do. Everyone sort of goes to her hat in hand. Cirie, what do we do here? Ozzy even has a confessional, like, "Oh, I was so muddle brained to try to think for myself here. Like, what a fool I would see about it. Not listen to Cirie."
Yes.
Yeah. So
I've been in the position where people have said, like, "Oh, we're doing this because this is what we thought that you would want," and I'm like, why do you think that that's what I would want? That is totally that's the opposite of what I would do. What are you thinking? And so I felt so seen when Cirie said, "No, don't vote at the middle. This is we take out two of them. Take out two, mom and dad. What's wrong with you people?
Very same. Yeah. This like argument of like when are we gonna get a chance to get two of them out at the same time could be also applied to Rick and Aubrey as well. You could basically make the same case. When are you gonna get a chance to get out two of them at the same time?
But Rick and Aubrey think that they're with Cirie, and I guess so does Coach and
but Coach and Chrissy.
But Cirie, and this is I think also part of Cirie's thinking. When I talked to Colby, that he told me that Cirie was wary of the Coach and Colby group because that Colby said about Jenna Lewis, about Cirie, he said, "Yeah, I pre-gamed with her." And I said, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." But then when Jenna Lewis tried to vote her out, she thought that I was just going back. He thought that Jenna Lewis was with me. And that when Jenna Lewis declared war on Cirie, she was like, "You know what? That's it. I'm done with those people." And so Cirie was never really wanting to work with the alleged Zoom alliance. At that point, she thought that they sort of like had gone back on whatever they had told her. And so she always was wary of the old school people.
What's amazing is that everybody thinks they're in with Cirie. They are all deferring to her. I mean, we even see her chatting with Chrissy, right? Well, yes, but she was right. I mean, you have to wonder, and again, like this is someone who we've seen time and time again mastermind these seasons, pull off some of the greatest blindsides, the most heartrending blindsides in the history of reality television. Masterminded that Eric ouster in Micronesia. In her season of Traitors, like left her allies just like jaw dropped with weeping with the betrayal of it. And yet here everybody is. As many times have you seen her on television pulling this thing off? She's pulling it off again. It's so masterful, and she does it with such charm, and nobody feels like they're being legislated to by Cirie. Everybody is like coming to her, begging for her wisdom, like she's like some sage on it, like descending from the mountaintop. So, truly beyond Fishy worthy, but nevertheless going to receive a Fishy.
And if Cirie goes on to win the season, Jenna Lewis gets to do one of the all-time great. I told you, I told you so. Come on, you got it. I said.
Well, I wonder though, like really, like if part of the appeal of Cirie as an ally is you don't think she's going to get over the finish line, because there is that fire making, because there is like she's not going to like beast her way in, like so you think like I can work with Cirie and then at 5 I can cut her pretty safely, unless she's got, I mean, I guess an idol that gets her to 4, but you don't think Cirie's going to be the one to do the fire making. You don't think she's going to like win that final 4 immunity challenge. So I wonder if there's a little bit of safety in Cirie because you think, as beloved as you have to know she wins if she gets to the end, but you don't think she's going to get over the finish line to the end.
maybe it's that, I don't want to take anything away from Cirie and how good she is and how good she
she's
makes
amazing.
you feel as an ally. I think there's also part of it. I think that you'd hate to lose, but if you're gonna lose, like I feel like, yeah, okay, if I lose to Cirie, like I can kind of live with that. If I went all the way to the end with Cirie and lose to Cirie, like I think that's better, and everybody will understand. If that happens.
That's interesting. Right. That's like an interesting one. Or like you just feel right, and or even just like the altruistic nature like kicks in. Like I mean, I felt that for sure on my 2 seasons. I was like, I would love these guys to JT or Jeremy. Like,
everybody will love me if I help Cirie get to the end. Yeah.
And I mean, we saw that in Australian Survivor. with Lisa.
Sure,
that was her sort of MO.
Sure. Cirie on Exile Island, we didn't really talk about that, where Cirie very keenly realizes, like, yeah, you know what? I just saw my 2 allies go to Exile Island. I knew they're going to be immune. That seems like the best place for me to be. Also, Cirie knows she's not going to win this giant double-decker immunity challenge, so nobody's going to be mad at me. So it really is the perfect spot for her to be. But then she has to turn over 2,000 coconuts here to get back, and she has a really epic montage that really encapsulates her whole Survivor journey. We see her; she's crying. It looks like that she's going through a real tough crucible to get through all of this. Stephen, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, there's a lot of speculation online, like, why is Cirie crying? And I don't know if anybody guessed because she had to turn over a lot of coconuts. Do you?
Nobody had that.
Yeah. Did you like this as sort of a challenge? I was like, and did you like the stakes of it? Did you think it was enough? Did you think it was like a good amount of stakes?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I felt like that if they really wanted somebody to lose their vote and not get back, I think the coconut would have been really much more on the outskirts and maybe turned over. So I think that this was certainly something that was meant to be doable.
Yeah, I agree. But what's interesting, like, it wasn't even turned over, right? It looked like the Phoenix was Phoenix side up. So she was, I mean, she didn't know that. And then, and obviously she was doing the correct thing by like rolling over the coconut so that she could at least kind of have some kind of order to this task. But
yeah, and the cinematography was really epic on this, and they getting the shot of I don't know if they had like a GoPro on a coconut, be able to shoot the shot with Cirie in the distance, but that was all really well shot, and so Cirie comes back.
Did she get to take back the coconut?
She did.
Yeah, she had the coconut, right? Yeah,
which was nice for her to be able to show people, like, hey, this is what I had to do, so nobody's like, I would lying.
Cut the coconut off, the Phoenix off the coconut, because the coconut's going to go rot at some point. But you cut the Phoenix off and like frame it. It would look very nice.
Maybe. I don't know how much memorabilia Cirie likes to collect. Okay, but we'll see what happens next time. Anything else from this episode tonight?
Rob, if you're out there, let's say you're Christian, or who are you? Who's your avatar? Who are you most like in this group here?
Well, on so many different levels, have multitudes, but Riz God.
Okay, let's say you're Riz God, and there's they say, like, you got to split into pairs. Who are you picking here?
Can't
pick Riz God.
No, now I can't pick Riz God, but I probably wouldn't pick him. I would say, Emily is not a bad pick for him, where somebody that's like, okay, somebody who's like has some physicality, can solve a puzzle, not necessarily somebody that's, look, they're a duo.
Yeah, I think Jonathan's, I mean, like, I'm doing the Christian
Stephanie, not a bad pick.
Yeah, Stephanie, yeah. Someone who's going to be like good in the challenge to like sort of counter my weaknesses. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, fun to think through.
All right, should we talk about what's coming up? Because boy, things are really heating up, both in Survivor 50.
Wow, look at that picture of you. You look so handsome there. What a great picture!
Listen,
holy cow! Maybe it's the maple leaf.
The best in the business at objectifying and making you feel good. So please, thank you for that. So I'm going to be, so what are we promoting? Next week, I'll be in Toronto. You can't get tickets. It is sold out, but just, I'm bragging. I'll be in Toronto next week. And Stephen is going to be holding it down on the know-it-alls with Owen.
I think Owen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do Owen.
So join us for that. I will have a live show for you from Toronto. I will on May 6th, in conjunction with The Tribe and I Have Spoken coming out. You can be in New York City with us. Our biggest live show ever is taking place on May 6th in New York City. You can come out and get ticket information at robbinswebsite.com/events there. Okay. And then Stephen and I are going to be together on Saturday, May 2nd, when I'm going on a little book tour for The Tribe and I Have Spoken. Join us at the Miracle Theater with East City Bookshop on Saturday, May 2nd.
Can I just say, I'm reading the book now that I've received it. It's so fun. I mean, what a delight. It's just like a joy. Favorite part of my day is like I get to read a chapter of the book. It's just like such a delight. It's like it's lovely. I love it.
And many have said the book peaks with a foreword by Stephen Fishback.
Forward, but not forearmed.
Okay. And then also check out also the events in, I'm not sure which is already sold out, but I'm going to be in Boston, Raleigh, and Los Angeles. robbinswebsite.com/events for information on the book tour. Let me see. Let me look in the private chat and see if I have any intel there. I don't know. Let's talk about what's coming up. I mentioned Andy Rueda is going to be my guest. Then talk with John and Aaliyah from Survivor Marquesas, and then we're going to do a mid-season mailbag. Brandon Donlin is going to be putting together your questions as we will answer our Survivor 50 mid-season check-in on the mailbag. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say and answer your questions, plus everything else in our We Know Survivor feed. Yes?
Oh, okay. My questions. All right.
Do you have questions? You want to send them in?
No. I just thought. I'm glad you're excited to answer my question. Okay, great.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know if we have a card about this or not, but The Tribe and I Have Spoken pre-orders are available, and if you pre-order, we will send you my digital bonus chapter of the ultimate rites of passage, Stephen. One sentence about every single player.
That's crazy.
You can go to robbinsbook.com. Okay.
Wow.
All right. We'll have on Friday the patron Q&A as well, so be on the lookout for that. That's going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern. And over on Patreon, Chappelle and I are talking about all the nonsense going on in the Survivor multiverse every single week on Club Condo Mondays. And then I also talked about one of Steven's favorites, $1 Million Secret is back. I talked about the first 3 episodes of $1 Million Secret Season 2. And Steven, I interviewed the host of $1 Million Secret. Peter Serafinowicz.
He says so charming. Yeah. Is he as charming and classy on the podcast?
Yes. Even more so. He was really, because he had a great microphone. So his voice was really on full display.
That's interesting.
Do you know that he was the voice of Darth Maul in Star Wars episodes? Speaking of blowing up the Death Star, he was the voice of Darth Maul in episode 1, 1999's The Phantom Menace.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing. I didn't know.
He's had a really interesting career. So check out my interview with Peter Serafinowicz. You will love it.
I don't remember Darth Maul speaking a lot.
He didn't have a lot of lines. I don't know if he did any of the animated. They have a new Darth Maul animated series, but the kids still, they love Darth Maul.
Yeah. I always wanted more from Darth Maul.
We want more. Okay.
Yeah.
Stephen has a book. It's called Escape with an exclamation
you can still
point.
buy it. It's still for sale. It's still selling. Please buy my book. People do.
People are still reading it. Yeah. They're still buying it, and they're still loving it.
Yeah. I love all the messages, by the way, all the lovely, wonderful, enthusiastic messages I love. Please, I try to respond to every one. It's been so amazing to receive all the positivity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And then over on Chat BCC, that's where all the survivors are just spilling all the tea. So you're going to want to see what they're saying. You can read it. Don't screenshot and post it anywhere else. Go to robbinswebsite.com/VIP chat to join Chat BCC for free. Okay. Stephen, there you have it.
Whoa. Great podcast.
Yes.
Great episode of Survivor. Great episode.
I mean, I just night. I know that we sort of like we don't like it when they are going to do too many things to play with the game, but I think we're all in the Aubrey mode of like it's Survivor 50. They're going to do stuff.
Yeah.
What do you expect?
Yeah. This is what the fans voted for, Rob. They voted for people splitting into groups of 2 and
Yeah, Jeff really threw the fans under the bus of like, hey, they voted for this.
You said
when we asked them, do you want regular twists, some twists, or dynamic twists? 63% said this is exactly what they wanted.
Yeah. I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I've like, on a season this fun with this many players, who I love to watch. Anything you do, you're not gonna make me grouchy. I just love this cast. I love the season. If the cast was weaker, if it was like, maybe I'd be like, oh, I don't need to see this silly thing, but this is so great.
Yeah.
I don't want to be negative.
And just to belabor the point one more time, that the reason why this, I think, worked much better than the Blood Moon was that the fates of a lot of the players, not the Duel of the Fates that Darth Maul was in, but the fates of the players were largely out of their hands, where, Genevieve, boy, I'm in a bad situation. What am I going to do? All I can do is play my shot in the dark. Whereas that the players who were matched up, they might have got an unlucky draw, but you can't say that for Coach and Chrissy, this was like an untenable, unwinnable situation. Like they could have played their way out of this one.
And, it did seem like the things that led to their ouster were big tribal dynamics that had been building up all season, rather than someone just kind of like drawing a bad rock and being like, oh, no, I'm in a, there's 4 of them and 1 of me. Nothing I can really do about it. And it was actually like an original twist, I think that was the exciting part too. Whereas the Blood Moon was like, we're doing the same thing we do all the time, but slightly more. And this is like totally different, which in a way that I really love. By the way, we've been talking about like pairs, ideas on Survivor, and I thought this was, I don't think you would do a whole season as pairs, but this was a really fun way to do it. And I would happily see this again.
And it's the kind of thing that gets inside a player's head where in Survivor 51, when they are going to do this like multi-stage challenge, like pick your partner, it's going to, I think, lead to some turmoil where they don't have to necessarily vote again in pairs. There will be some fights that break out over who is going, I don't think that they will submit to a rock draw. I think that the players will really argue about who has to be their partners. I don't know when they're leaving for Survivor 51, but I do hope that they will have at least seen this episode.
Yeah, I definitely agree that moving forward, it will be in people's heads, and that'll also make it more interesting and maybe better. When these twists play out again, I think we both love twists where the players know the stakes so that they can make decisions and either have their brilliant strategic thinking pay off or be hoisted by their own petards.
We love it. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to reading what you have to say in the comments. And then we'll have our double exit interviews coming up on Thursday. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.